Hi, welcome back to hell. Against my better judgment, I'm doing it again. Um, this time we're gonna be listening to every single one of Nickelback's albums. So my history with Nickelback, um, from the age of about 11 to 15, they were my favorite band, which is an inevitable thing when you're a Canadian and you're growing up loving your power chords. I have since largely outgrown the butt rock stuff, but I do still have a soft spot for a little bit of it. So, um, by no means am I. I mean, obviously, with Nickelback being one of my favorite bands growing up, I'm not going to be a major Nickelback hater. I'm not the biggest Nickelback defender either. I think the number of people who hate them, it's probably a little out of proportion, but I think the people who love them, I think that number might be a little bit high too. So I'm interested to see how these albums hold up because other than their album that came out last year, I haven't listened to a Nickelback album front to back in full in years. Hey, it's Charlie from the future editing the video. One thing I forgot to bring up was the fact that I actually wore a Nickelback shirt to my first day of high school. So you might be thinking that was stupid, probably. But at the time, I was also convinced that it was the coolest thing you could possibly wear because they're the best band in the world. I guess next up is to talk about the scoring system. So obviously we're just going to be listening through all the albums, but also we're going to be giving it all a score and then ranking the albums at the end of it. So here's the scoring system: 0 to 10 for each song. Add it all up, divide by the number of tracks, and that gives you the album score. So I will also say for any big Nickelback fans watching this, I think it's very important to note anything. A 6 is a positive number. 6 is positive. Okay, so if there's an album that's like a 60 something, that means it's. See, I mean, look right there, 60 to 69 is pretty good. It's pretty good. So, don't expect too many super high numbers out of this one, but just as a reminder, 6 is good. Here's our lineup for the day. In total, 10 albums. Here we go. Starting with Curb from 1996. If there was any album I didn't go back to as a kid, it was this one. That snare is, I don't want to compare it to Saint Anger, but that is a bad snare sound. Bad. Little Friend isn't the worst song I've ever heard, but it's not good. It's not very good. It's it's very funny. It's I'm a bit of a Chad Kroeger defender in that people say his voice is the worst they've ever heard. No, I not only do I not think his voice is all that bad, I actually think it's pretty good. I would not be showing this album to anyone who I wanted to defend Chad's voice to. Pusher is not as bad as Little Friend. That's way less grungy than the first two. He sounds like he's struggling. This is hardly Nickelback at their worst, right? Like, the biggest Nickelback critics aren't looking at the band being like, look how bad these people are as musicians. It's more like, look at them doing everything in their power to get a radio hit. Look at how they're doing anything to avoid having any sort of substance to their music. That's not what they're guilty of here. What they're guilty of here is just not being good. I'm probably only going to do this for the first couple of albums because I'm going to be dying to get this over with. But like that whole right here. It's just it's not even a section of the song. You just hit a couple chords for 10 seconds. It didn't lead to anything different. Like, it's too short to be a part of the song, and it didn't actually lead to anything different. Detangler gets a 4. It's just odd choices writing a song, and the choices that they make, they just don't sound good. Like, this isn't painful, this isn't offensive or anything, right? It's just aggressively not good at all. It's boring, it's bland, it's not written well, it's not mixed well. Like, across the board, it's not enjoyable, and it's not even interesting. Like, bad can still be interesting. It's just bland. Nickelback does love a wah pedal for the solos. Can we get a wah counter, actually? Let me set up a wah counter up in this corner right here. I'm gonna set up a wah in the solo counter. Sorry, Curb, but that's a 3. Okay. That clicking noise with the bass. Musically, this one doesn't sound... I think musically this one is better than the first 4, but it's such a nothing song. And not to say that I've, like, been pulled in by the lyrics on the first few, but, like, this one, the lyrics are so easy to follow along, and they're so clearly nothing. Just kind of softly hitting the cymbals. Wah counter. Like, that little section is the most interesting Nickelback have sounded so far. Okay. We're getting closer to, like, modern Nickelback riffs with that. Yeah, musically, that's the most interesting one so far. It's still not a good song. Some music sounds good when it's really, really messy. Nickelback can't pull off messy. It sounded awful. It doesn't necessarily sound good, but it doesn't sound bad. My main takeaway from that song was that intro riff, which I thought was actually pretty cool. So I'll give it the 4. Sounds like shit. Yes, it is easier to self-produce and sound good today. Doesn't mean you shouldn't hold a standard for the mid-90s. It's not like they tried to fucking record an album in their garage in 1965, you know? Like, here we go, Just 4, which I believe... Yeah, so there is a Just 4 on Silver Side Up without the U. It definitely isn't good. Like, I think there's a reason they went back to this on a later album. They knew it was structurally probably their strongest on this album. It's kind of interesting playing that main riff over this. It actually kind of works. You know what? I was entertained, actually, compared to the others. And just for that, it gets a 5. I'm going to be saying this a lot, but, like, why is the song 4 minutes long? Like, there's so many of these songs that just... They don't do anything interesting. Like, genuinely, they could be 2 minutes long and you wouldn't miss anything. Not that anyone's gonna be writing 2-minute songs in 1996. TikTok didn't exist. Wah for the solo counter. There has been much worse than that song. 4. Listen to that snare. Tell me I'm not right about that snare being... Like, when it's isolated that much. When the snares especially... You could kind of say Nickelback was ahead of their time with snare sounding like a fucking garbage can. That sounds so bad. It sounds so bad. Anyway, that song sucks. I'm not feeling good about this one so far. It's a solid enough riff. I don't know if I'd call this one bad as much as it just isn't good at all. I mean, they ended on, you know, one of the better songs, I guess. Nickelback's off to a rough start with Curb ending up at a 37. All right, next up is 1999's The State. This is going to be the first album where I am feeling extremely nostalgic for a couple of these songs. Yeah, we're going to open up here with probably one of my most played songs of my childhood, to be honest. So here we go. Starting off The State with Breathe. In hindsight, it's not a very good song, but 11-year-old me thought it ruled so hard. I think it's without a doubt the best song so far. Like, it beats everything on Curb. I feel like maybe I should give it a 5, and this is mostly nostalgia, but I feel comfortable with a 6 on Breathe. So I just went through a huge rabbit hole just to try and figure this out. By the way, the song is pretty mediocre. But on that subject, as the song is wrapping up, and I slap a 5 on there, I was about to say we're getting into this era of Nickelback here, where it's going to be a lot of mediocre, not a whole lot of awful, not a whole lot of good. The biggest thing is the increase in quality and the mixing and production. Also worth noting that this is their first album to go platinum. It went platinum as of 2002 in both Canada and the States, as far as I can tell. Even as a kid, I mean, same as now, but as a kid, I was all about hooks and melody and whatever. This one has really neither. So yeah, coming up here. There it is. Part of me wants to give it the 5, but I think, like, listen, I can sit through that no problem. That song is a 6. Okay, so I looked into it because that opening line was very creepy. But no, this song's about an ex-girlfriend. Because Chad was saying she's old enough to move to Vancouver with me because they were both 21, but her parents disapproved, so I guess that ended the relationship. But dude, when you start a song with "she's old enough," old enough was fine. It's a mediocre song. This is brutal so far. This is awful. If nothing else, the snare sound on this album is so much better. This isn't good. This is not good at all. This section is better. No, that one missed the mark a bit. This song is just boring. It's just really boring. It's not terrible. I'm already giving it a 4 because the rule for the 4 is, for me, it's just not a good song. And if you check to see how long is left in the song, that feels worse than mediocre. Like, and if you're looking for it in a sense of like, is this done soon, please? So that's an easy 4. Honestly, the first 4 songs of this album started out fairly positive, and it's just sort of all falling apart now. It's just another one like the last couple. It's just a boring, yeah. Make that 3 4s in a row. Like so many Nickelback songs. It's not offensively bad. It's just not good. I feel like when I'm done editing, this album is gonna go by really quickly because I just don't have that much to say about most of these songs. One Last Run is the 4th 4 in a row. We're a minute and a half in. I haven't said a word. There's nothing left to say. It's the exact same as the last several songs. Hold Out Your Hand to finish things off on album number 2. Part of me wants to give it a 5, but it's so painfully boring, I can't bring myself to do it. It's a long string of 4s to end The State. For the moment, The State is at the top of the album leaderboard with a 46. I'm fairly certain Silver Side Up is about to demolish this one. Okay, next up is Silver Side Up. And just to spoil it a little bit, these first 4 tracks on this album are going to be the 4 highest rated so far. You know, outgrowing Nickelback or not, those are 4 songs. I'm fairly certain all 4 of those songs are going to get at least a 7. So, if memory serves anyway. If they hold up. The jump in quality is insane. It's a good song. It's a good song. This song, following those first 2 albums, it's night and day. What a difference. Like, by no means is that song aged perfectly, but like, come on. Like, it's a good song. I still enjoy that song. That's really good. I'm gonna give the song a really good rating, aren't I? It's a great fucking song. Overplayed for 20 years or not, it's a great song. I don't care. I don't care. That's a great song. For Christmas one year, my cousin burned me a copy of the Nickelback Live at Home DVD. I watched that a lot, and I'm 90% sure I remember they opened the concert with this song. Wah or Talkbox? We'll just count it as Wah. Well, it's just a good song. It's this. You know what? This one's aged well. This one's aged really well. That aged so well that too bad it's getting an 8. Like, I would go back and listen to that again. I think it is better than the original. Like, I mean, it's basically the same song, just with better production value. I think I can confidently put down a 6 right away. It was a 5 on Curb, but this redone version, like, it's the same song but just like a little bit better, and it's a little more polished. It sounds good. Silver Side Up is off to a really strong start. It's an okay riff. It's passable. That doesn't sound good. That's really the only part that sounds terrible. Let's just throw the 5 there, a little preemptively. Let's see if that stays the same. Yeah, there are aspects of the song that I find extremely lazy. I'm gonna forget about the song the second I'm listening to the next one, but this sounds like they took Never Again in a slightly different direction. This chorus, it's not terrible. It's not good. There are points where I'm like, this is getting repetitive and boring, but it's not like a bad song. It's just kind of mediocre as hell. So it's a lot more boring than I remember. I think it's a better song than the last 2. The actual definition of a 6 for me is a song that I have no problem listening to, start to finish. I don't know if I'd listen to this whole thing if it came on. Like, it's just so boring. It's done well enough. It sounds alright. Run of some 5s here might be tanking the score. It's a fun enough riff. They absolutely front-loaded this album. Because comparing it to The State, I know it looks like I'm just getting bored of an album halfway through, but I genuinely think back-to-back albums, they just front-loaded the thing. So I'm putting another 5 for Hangnail. Maybe a little bit early, but if nothing else, this album is being consistent. Even though it falls off, it's consistently not bad after it stops being good, if that makes sense. If this song can hang on and entertain me for the 5 minutes, this album is going to have no bad songs. This is one that I skipped a lot as a kid, but I'm already more interested in the sound than the last several songs. It's a lot better than I remember. It is way too long. If it were 3 minutes long, I think I'd give it the 6. And with that, Silver Side Up takes a commanding lead with a 62. I'm starting to see why I loved this music so much as a kid, because even now, as someone who's way closer to 30 than I'm comfortable with, like, there's still 4 songs on this album that I think are at the very least really good. Like Silver Side Up is still, 62. A 62 means it's a good album. Like it's a pretty damn good album. I think quickly before moving on to the next one, we should go over this how popular this album was. Still is definitely popular, but this album went okay. I'll just give you the list of how many countries this album went platinum in. It went 8 times platinum in Canada, 6 times platinum in the US, 3 times platinum in the UK, 2 times platinum in Australia, sorry, platinum in Austria, platinum in Germany, platinum in the Netherlands, and platinum in Switzerland. And then also gold in Sweden, New Zealand, France, Denmark, Belgium. That is absurd. All right, next up is what I believe is probably still my favorite Nickelback album. I don't imagine much has changed over the last however many years it's been since I listened to them all, but if I were to guess, I think this one's going to end up in a in a league of its own as far as the final scores are concerned. There's a couple rough spots that I'm sure I'll have a lot to talk about. This is the one I've been the most excited to listen to again, just to see if it holds up, if I was right about it all. It is so it's so aggressively butt rock, but like almost like in an endearing way now. 20 years later, I love the ending of this one too. That's a good song. That's a great way to start the album. Really solid. It's not great by any means, but it's a solid song. No, it's a solid song. No problem listening to it. Wouldn't necessarily say that I like really enjoy it or anything, but solid enough song. No complaints. Now this is going to be potentially a hot take because obviously this is one of the songs that a lot of people really like pile on. I love this song. Is it a lot of nostalgia? Maybe. Like I'll give you 40% nostalgia. It's time for me to lose any and all credibility I have. This song is a banger. I don't care. This song is so good. I've already put the number there. I got nothing to do but just enjoy the last few seconds. It's a solid enough song. I'm just gonna slap a 6 on there. I got no problem listening to this whole song. I don't necessarily love it, but it's it's a solid song. All right, next up, Feeling Way Too Damn Good, which is one of my all-time favorites when I was a kid. So we'll see if it holds up. I haven't listened to this one in a really long time. Like we might be hitting like maybe 10 years. So very possible doesn't hold up whatsoever, but let's find out. I actually really like this chorus still. You know what? I'm impressed. I really enjoyed that still. Give it an 8. I'm enjoying this one quite a bit. Nickelback Breakdown. I really enjoyed that. That gets a 7. Next up is Figured You Out, aka what I always call it now, thanks to Pat Finnerty. I actually let me just let Pat tell you what it's called.
I like your pants around your feet song.
Here we go. Pants Around Your Feet song. I have a funny feeling this one's gonna get a rough score. This song is very creepy. I'm sure there are instances of this and stuff I've already listened to today that I completely missed. But especially from this point going forward, there are a few songs that I would say are at best described as a little problematic. Everyone with a pickup truck who drinks Monster and fucking wears tap out shirts might call me a pussy, but Nickelback does have a track record of some like pretty misogynistic songs. This being just one of them. It's you know what? To be fair though, it's not actually as bad as I remember it being. It's still pretty lame. You know, you feel really edgy when you're listening to this when you're like 11 years old. When you're 11, listening to a 40-year-old man sing about sex is not nearly as cringy as it is when you are also an adult. That being said, musically, it's actually a pretty alright song, but the lyrics are brutal. The lyrics are so bad. I think I probably could be a little bit more harsh. I'm going with the 2. So while I don't think this is the most misogynistic song we're gonna hear, that's definitely part of it. But no, most of it is just the song is lame as fuck. This was one I listened to a lot back in the day, and I don't know why. It's not. I mean, it's not a bad song. It's just we're back to that boring territory. It's not bad, but like I would never listen to this whole thing just because it's on. The song itself is all right, but when you add in like, so this song is actually about it's based on a true story of this girl who, I mean, right here, but yeah, this high school girl somewhere in the States hid a pregnancy and had the baby at her prom in the bathroom, and I mean, you can kind of figure out where it went from there. It's definitely not bad. It's definitely not a bad song. It's like it's surprisingly like really punchy. Like I like it quite a bit. You know what? I still really like that song. It's got its warts for sure. I'm noticing a lot where I'm like, you know, I'm being picky. This song, the lyrics are nothing. It's the most bland nothing. I guarantee Chad wrote this trying to sell it to a country artist. We're rock stars and we hang out with girls and we do drugs and we fucking party, dude. We party. I don't hate it. I don't. And maybe this is another case of the nostalgia, but I thought that song was extremely listenable. Okay, so The Long Road doesn't hold up as well as I thought it would. It beats Silver Side Up by a single point, so it is number 1 still. But I honestly, I look back at this album so fondly, like looking back at it from when I was a teenager, that I genuinely thought it had a really good shot of starting with a 7. So that's kind of a bummer. Okay, now for the big one. And I call All the Right Reasons the big one for good reason. Just before we get into it, I think it's important to just establish how insanely huge this album is. First of all, it went diamond in the States. Diamond is 10 million. And then let's see what else we got here. 7 times platinum in Canada. Went triple platinum in the UK, New Zealand. Went 4 times platinum in Australia. It went gold in Austria, gold in Denmark, 3 times gold Germany, gold in the Netherlands, gold in Switzerland, an absurd number of sales. I think this is one of those songs where Chad was like, let's see how creepy I can get on an album that's going to sell 11 million plus worldwide. It's all right. I love the music for a lot of that song. I think it's really interesting. Preference wise though, just personally, the lyrics are a bit weird for my liking. This one's actually better than I remember it being. Genuinely, that's better than I remember it being. I had no problem listening through that. And anything genuine about this song, I think, has been ruined by all the memes. But I'm gonna try and take it at face value and enjoy it as much as I can. It's still a nice song. It is. I can't help it. I still like that song a lot. It's a classic. I remember in grade 6, I was 11 or 12. So this would have been in like 2007, probably. Someone in my class brought in the CD for All the Right Reasons and had like the little booklet with the lyrics in it. He was like gathering people around to show everyone the lyrics of Animals. He was like, Charlie, you gotta see this. And I'm like, fuck, buddy, I know. I'm in that shit, man. I'm fucking listening to that daily. It's a lot more cringeworthy being an adult listening to a 40-year-old man talk about how much sex he's having in this car. When you're 11, you're blinded by the crunchy guitar tone, and that's what you focus on. Like, how are you not embarrassed to have to fucking sing that every night? I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that there's like a hint of comedy to it. It's still fucking embarrassing. It is a very fun guitar riff. I will give it that. This man was in his mid-30s, I think, when this came out. I really hope this is not from his point of view. I mean, I think it's very likely it's from somebody else's point of view, like a couple of high schoolers. I fucking hope. Either way, even with the benefit of the doubt, really fun guitar riff. I think a 5 is being generous with how fucking difficult it is to listen to those lyrics. All right, and now another potentially hot take. I'm just like, before the song even starts, I'm putting the 10. Saving Me is my favorite Nickelback song. I don't know if top 50 is giving it the credit it deserves. I don't think it would crack a top 30. We'll meet in the middle. Say if I were to make a top 40 songs of all time, like my 40 favorite songs, I think "Saving Me" by Nickelback makes the cut. So I'm just gonna fully enjoy every moment of listening to this song. I genuinely don't care if anyone watching this is watching this because they hate Nickelback or whatever. I mean, part of the reason why this whole thing is funny is because Nickelback mostly isn't great, and it makes for a fun, like, silly challenge. This song is fucking phenomenal. The number of times I watched this music video on AOL Music back in the day, I love that song so much. Objectively, I do believe objectively it's a good song. Objectively, it's not a 10. But for me, I love that song. Far Away is the first example, I think, of the thing Nickelback did for quite a few albums in a row was get that rock radio airplay with one song and get on the pop stations with another. And both this one and later on in the same album, If Everyone Cared, both got a lot of pop radio time in Canada anyway. I would hear If Everyone Cared on the radio in 2009 on pop radio. They had another album come out before then, so Nickelback's staying power on Canadian radio with this album was unbelievable. I think that's where a lot of the selling out argument came in. It was a very clear, like, new album coming out. Okay, they're going to release 2 singles. One's going to be heavy for rock, and one's going to be like really poppy, and they're going to try and get on whatever top 40 stations there are. Obviously, Nickelback's not getting on any top 40 stations these days. It's just completely different landscape in the world of music. But at the time, they had no problem getting radio time on both mainstream rock and just your general top 40, which is, I think that just goes to show how huge they were. It's a nice poppy tune. I don't love it by any means, but it's all right. It holds up pretty well, to be honest. One time I heard this song, I went to like a demolition derby when I was a kid, and this came out when they were like introducing all the contestants, and I got so hyped. And then there's just a bunch of dudes in cars driving around with like this line. Made sense. And then with this chorus, it just it just seemed like a whole bunch of dudes driving around, all pissed off because they all have the same girlfriend and everyone's trying to touch her. Made for a weird atmosphere at a demolition derby. It's a 5. Like it's another example of the music being good and then just kind of falling apart. This is one of my favorites on the album. For anyone who thinks Nickelback can't make a good heavy song, here you go. For those unfamiliar, the song is about Dimebag Darrell being killed, and the guitar solo is actually an outtake for whatever Pantera album was being worked on at the time, or I don't even know if it was like very recent or if it was just an old one that they never used. But the guitar solo on this song is Dimebag Darrell, which is a pretty cool touch. That's an 8. That's I go back and listen to that song every so often. Like on a song like this, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but it's just when this is on the same album as Follow You Home, Animals, and Next Contestant, it feels pandery. You know what I mean? I want to shit on this song, but the nostalgia is working overtime on this one. Yeah, the nostalgia is too much. I still have to be positive about if everyone cared. I can't bring myself to give it a negative score, as pandery and fucking bad as a lot of it is. The funniest thing about this is we're supposed to believe that in 2005, after having 3 platinum albums, we're supposed to believe that Chad Kroeger is living in an apartment and not a mansion somewhere. That actually might be a good argument in his favor, where you can be like, well, all of these are like character pieces. Like, I don't think much of this is written from his point of view. The song should end right. The song should have ended there. You know what? It's not a bad song at all. It's actually surprisingly pretty alright. Rockstar. God, I don't know how to look at this song now. I understand why people hate this song, but at the same time, how can anyone hate this song? I have to give it the 7. I have to give it a 7. I enjoyed it. It's still a fun song. It is. It's still a fun song. For the 3rd album in a row, we have a new number 1. Yeah, All the Right Reasons is number 1, and we are halfway through. All right. Dark Horse. This one is, if I were just to guess, I'm going to say this is going to be like more around the score of The State. This is the first Nickelback album to come out after I had discovered them. So this is the first album that like I experienced the whole hype and release of it. And yeah, just like all the others, I loved it. I loved it when it came out in 2008. Actually, what's the date? See, I was 12 when this came out, and I mean, as you can see from the titles, talking about some very big adult themes. I was very grown up for listening to these. I was very edgy. So now looking back, it's just going to be, I imagine a lot of this album is going to be painfully cringy. Anyway, here we go. Dark Horse, which I think I think we're about to fall off a cliff here scores wise, but there are a couple songs on here that I do really like to this day. So it's got some hope. Not with this first song, but here we go. Something in Your Mouth. It's a really fun riff. That's fucking brutal. That's so bad. I mean, 2008 was a different time, but did no one say, hey Chad, this sucks? Holy fuck. I don't know why Nickelback has so many songs about prostitutes, but this is, without a doubt, the worst song so far. The only thing keeping it from being a 0 is how cool the opening guitar riff is. That's it. Terrible. This song is legitimately fantastic. I do honestly really love Burn It to the Ground. This is in my top 5 most played songs in middle school, without a doubt. It's like, say what you will about Nickelback, and I'm saying plenty of negative about them as well. They are a phenomenal live act to see. They are so tight. Whether the music is for you or not, really, really impressive live band. Wah solo count. Burn It to the Ground is still a great song. It's still a great song. I think Something in Your Mouth was the other lead single. It's weird saying lead single when there's 2 of them, but that's the thing. Like I mentioned before, that's the thing that Nickelback did, was they released 2 singles. I think it was Something in Your Mouth and Gotta Be Somebody. And you're gonna see like I said, there's a pattern to it. They release a heavy single and then a poppier single. And listen, if it works, it works, but it paints a bit of a sketchy picture for anyone looking for a reason to dislike you. Call it nostalgia. I still enjoy that song. I like it. This one, I remember loving. Like, I loved the song. It may be one of those ones that's aged very cheesily. Like, this section here is really nice. Like, I like this so much more than the actual chorus. I actually ended up liking that a lot more than I thought I would. I thought for sure it would have aged poorly. But it's not, I mean, it's cheesy, but it's not as bad as I was expecting. This one, I think, is going to be pretty fucking bad. Cards on the Table. This is one of my favorites on the album. Back in the day. Entirely because I really didn't listen to the lyrics at all. And even if I did, I was a stupid 12-year-old. Like, I wasn't gonna pick up on any of it, right? So I just loved the sound of it, and like, it doesn't sound that bad, but it doesn't sound especially good to me anymore, because I was impressed by this when I had heard like 6 bands total before hearing this album, so it's a little different now. Wah? Well, we're gonna count this as wah as well. I don't know if it's a wah pedal or not, but it's close enough. No. Nope. That song is genuinely awful. It's not as bad as Something in Your Mouth, but that's a fucking horrible song. You know what? Props to Nickelback. They wrote a song called Just to Get High from an anti-drug perspective. I would never put money on that. So the problem is the song isn't good. Wah pedal. I'm comfortable with the 4. This song, I have 0 feelings about this song. 0 positive, 0 negative feelings whatsoever. I think complete indifference, a 5 works. Yeah, I probably put that 5 on there a little too early, but I'm sticking with it. I'm gonna be shocked if this one ends up with a 5. It's a fun guitar riff, but I actually learned this guitar riff at one of my guitar lessons back in the day. A lot of songs about prostitutes. These guys love writing about prostitutes. Wah solo. So I'm a little torn on that one, because it sounds good. It's got a cool groove. I love the main guitar riff. The subject matter is childish as fuck. Like it's cringy as fuck. I'm just trying to find the right balance because like 5 seems a bit high given the subject matter. It's so childish, it's so fucking lame. I'm going with a 4. I'm not trying to be like sex negative or anything like that. It's just fucking lame. It's just such a lame fucking subject, and they can't think of anything else to fucking talk about most of the time. This is gonna be fucking painful. So many of these songs start the same way. The music itself, I'm like, yeah, like this is cool. I'm into it, and then did you ask a 16-year-old to write you the edgiest song he possibly could? That's what this shit is. Like, it's fucking awful. Like I said, I've heard all of these before. Half of the song is all I can take. That's all I can take. It's a fucking 0. That's one of the worst songs ever fucking written. It's listen, if I thought they should be embarrassed for the lyrics of Shaking Hands, that and Something in Your Mouth are on different fucking levels. It's unbelievable how bad that is. This one's not as bad, obviously. This one I'm expecting to have a similar score to like a Never Gonna Be Alone, or maybe even I'd Come For You. I do like this one more than Never Gonna Be Alone. It's there's something about it that makes it stand out more. Maybe this just sounds really good in comparison to what was just playing, but I'm leaning towards a 6 on this one. Yeah, I'm going with a 6 on that one. That was a solid enough song. All right, this afternoon, and then we're done this fucking album. It's a fun enough song. Like it's a good time day drinking tune. You know, played at the cottage or something. It's fine. It's a perfectly acceptable song. It's a 6, honestly. I have no problem listening to it. And maybe a lot of that has to do with nostalgia again, but you know what? Like, other than a few really, really rough songs, there's a few good ones spread out on this. So I know heading into this one, I said this is probably going to land more around the score that the state got. I didn't think it was going to be within 1 like that. Also, I think it's just very clear how, you know, like a good chunk of this album is very good. And I think that's clear that this still finished 8 points ahead of Curb, despite the fact that there are 3 songs in here that total 3 points. So yeah, Dark Horse, a lot of it has aged incredibly poorly. Or I don't know, maybe it's been really shitty for a long time, but I've just grown up. That could be it too. But a lot of it is still very good. Very hit or miss. 6 down, 4 to go. We're now at 2011's Here and Now, which is also the first CD I ever bought with my own money. I'm pretty sure I pre-ordered this like right after the 2 main, you know, the 2 singles came out, one for rock radio, one for pop, those being Bottoms Up and When We Stand Together. So we'll hear those quite early on. Here we go. Here and Now. It's okay, right? Like, it's not, yeah. I listened to this a lot though. Like, I had a radio with a CD player in my room at the time, and every single day after school, go up to my room, do my homework, put the CD on. Probably well into December, and eventually I switched to Christmas music, but it was a lot of this album for like a month solid. Actually, a really specific thing this album makes me think of is it makes me think of the smell of latex, because I don't remember if it was the day this album came out or it was within a couple of days, because my hands still smelled like latex gloves that I had to wear in science class because we were dissecting cow eyes, and by we I mean we were paired into pairs, and I was paired with my buddy Peter. He did uh, he did 100% of the work. I refused to get anywhere near that eye, let alone cut into it. So, because the first few days I was listening to this album 3 times a night, my hands fucking stunk like latex gloves. So this album makes me think of cow eyes a lot. It's mediocre as hell. It's like, it sounds fine, but it's equally like, this sounds okay and super cringy. Yeah, bottoms up. We're gonna fight, then we're gonna drink, and then we're gonna fucking stand together. Excellent choice to open up this album. This is one of those songs where I'm genuinely like a good amount embarrassed that I loved it so much. My interest in the song faded very quickly once I got to the legal drinking age. Wah pedal for the solo. Songs about getting absolutely fucking shit hammered sound a lot more fun and cool when you're just having a beer here or there as a teenager, rather than just being able to go and get fucking absolutely pissed. By the way, we're also like officially in like 40-year-old Chad territory here. Listen, if you want to be 40 writing like frat house anthems, that's cool, and like he's made a ton of fucking money off of it, but with context and everything now, as an adult, it's a little bit lame. It's such a bland fucking like, everyone's in it together. It's such a nothing song. I mean, you can dive into the whole like, you know, all these millionaires being like, hey, what if we stop shooting each other and we're all nice? And it just makes you want to fucking roll your eyes. But I don't know, when you're just looking at the song at extreme surface value, it's like, it's not a terrible song, but it's not good. It's not good at fucking all. This is a rough one as well, if I remember correctly. That sounds so fucking bad. I don't remember it sounding this bad. It sounds also, wah. It's not the solo, but it's a lead. I'm gonna count it. Buddy. Okay, well that's a no question wah solo, but I'm still counting the one from earlier. This is a twofer. Like, oh fuck, that's embarrassing. It's terrible. It's a terrible fucking song. I don't remember "Gotta Get Me Some" off the top of my head, but that title is leading me to believe we're in for another one like this. She's got a fast car, hotter than a dance bar, looking like a rock star. She'll be the talk of the town. When I say that, those are probably the 2 worst back-to-back lines in any Nickelback song. That is fucking saying something. Oh my god. No, okay. You know what? Awful. Awful. I'm calling it. I'm calling it. Alright, Lullaby. This was my favorite on the album back in the day. It's actually pretty solid still. It suffers from the usual cheesy Nickelback ballad thing, but like, it's just plain enough that it gets away with it. Like, When We Stand Together is so, like, When We Stand Together is like a bad version of If Everyone Cared. This is like a better version of I'd Come For You, maybe? I don't know. I actually do like it a lot. And that might have a lot to do with the nostalgia. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go against my better judgment and give that a 7. I still really like this one. And Kiss It Goodbye, this was my favorite of the heavier songs on the album back in the day. And if I'm remembering correctly, it's gonna be a little bit more on the embarrassing side. That's terrible. I had bad taste. It's riding that line between truly awful and not the worst thing. It's just a stupid nothing song. I think a 4 is appropriate. Listen, if nothing else, Nickelback was a phenomenal like gateway band for me. So I have them to thank for the multiple directions my music taste took off in after I sort of fell out of love with them around like 16 years old or so. This was the music video where Jason Alexander, George from Seinfeld, he was playing a barista for some reason. I remember even back then I thought this song sucked, so see how it's aged. It's not that bad. It's not a good song, but it's not that bad. I think I just kind of clued into how cheesy it was even back then. I'm gonna give it the 5. It's fine. You know, it doesn't make me upset. It doesn't make me upset. It doesn't make me happy. It's right down the middle. It's a fine song. The song is very boring. It's not terrible, but it's without a doubt not good at all. Everything I want to do. Time for another borderline gross one. I never noticed that before. FUC. That's fucking horrendous. It isn't as creepy as I feel like I remember it being, but it is definitely way more embarrassing than I remember this being. A 2 feels appropriate. As someone who's experienced this very specific situation and it resulting in a long-term relationship, you'd think I'd be the target demographic for something like this. This shit's cheesy and not good, like at all. Like, did we forget what we just heard? The last song that just like, and I mean, like, maybe that's part of it with Nickelback is like you're not supposed to take anything that they say seriously. Like, I don't know if Chad's ever written from the heart in his life, which isn't like an inherently bad thing. The albums are all so all over the place. You can't find like a groove to settle into. It's fucking back and forth. Like, I'm fucking her like crazy. We're best friends and we're in love. I don't know. I can never find a spot where I'm comfortable in a Nickelback album now when I'm not 12 to 15 years old. What I thought was a very impressive amount of variety in a catalog, I'm now recognizing to be just messy. This song is not cringeworthy, but it is certainly a bad song. Here and Now is the worst album so far. Next up, 2014's No Fixed Address. By this point, I was already sort of falling off the Nickelback wagon. It was already starting to slow down, even though I did like Here and Now when it first came out. That was 3 years before this, and just in that time, like I've just kind of started to shift my music a little bit. This was the first album of theirs that came out where I had a kind of a mixed review of. There are some songs that I still loved that no doubt are going to be a bit worse to my ears today. There was also a bunch of duds on the album, and I had never really experienced that before. So I think just, you know, from 2011 being 15, like the difference between being 15 and 18, you know, my music taste shifted quite a bit. But I was still going to give Nickelback a fair shot because, you know, they're my first ever favorite band. Yeah, and if my feelings were mixed at the time, I can only imagine how it's going to be this time around. So every album from the state through Here and Now sold 1 million or more copies in the States. I don't think it slowed down too much in Canada. Here and Now went double platinum in Canada. No Fixed Address. It went platinum in Canada. So it still did well in Canada, but you know, like Dark Horse, I think went triple platinum in the States, and obviously All the Right Reasons went diamond. So the sales numbers are pretty rough in comparison in the span of 9 years. So starting off with 1,000,000 Miles an Hour. It's actually a pretty good riff. It's very This Means War. It sounds fine. It's a nothing song. Like, I'm already very, very confident that a 5 is the right number, but yeah, just a super fucking mediocre song. Alright, here's Edge of a Revolution, which is the, I forgot to go over the 2 singles that Nickelback did this time. Edge of a Revolution for rock radio, and What Are You Waiting For pop radio, which obviously didn't work out so well given the sales on this one. Even as someone who has a soft spot for this band, Chad Kroeger is not someone I would ever charge into battle with, let alone for. So Nickelback trying to make a political song, and it's so nothing. They're not specifically saying what the revolution is for. What are they upset with? Like, okay, hold on. Like, the chorus, it's nothing. No, we won't give up, we won't go away, because we're not about to live in this mass delusion. No, we don't want to hear another word you say, because we know they're all depending on mass confusion. No, we can't turn back, we can't turn away, because this time we are relying on the lost solution. No, we won't lay down and accept this fate, because we're standing on the edge of a revolution. So what are they saying? Like, Future Charlie, I'm editing the video, and I'm noticing that I did a really poor job of trying to explain what I have a problem with. It's a one-size-fits-all protest song. It's like, you know, like Maroon 5 or Train would like specifically write songs so that they could be played at weddings. Nickelback's like, what if we just wrote a super bland song that people are going to want to play at their protests? So that's why I don't like it. Okay, thanks. Keep watching, please. They want to write a song with a clear message, but not so clear that it can't be used in any commercial ever. I talked myself into a 3. I got madder as that went on. Cards on the Table. I loved this song when it came out. This is one that I had a very serious soft spot for. I don't dislike the way the song sounds. It's just another, like, you know, bland Nickelback trying to be uplifting kind of song. You know what I mean? It's middle of the road. It's a mediocre song. I actually don't mind a lot of the writing about cocaine from the point of view of, like, he's talking about a woman instead. Interesting. Powder or woman, the words funky little monkey makes me want to ignore everything you're saying. It's not good. I don't think it's bad, but it's not good. This feels right. A 4 feels right. Nickelback trying like new sounds. It could be worse than this. It could. Yeah, like this is so much better than Edge of a Revolution, and it's probably better than She Keeps Me Up as well. I'm struggling between a 4 and a 5 on that. Actually, I think it's a 4. I think it's a 4. It's not even mediocre. It's just not. It's not good. All right, Satellite. Now this one, Satellite was my favorite off the album at the time, and it was co-written by Josh Ramsey of Marianas Trench. That's a band that's very hit or miss for me, but when they hit, they really, really hit. And for those who don't know, actually, fun fact, Josh Ramsey co-wrote Call Me Maybe. I don't like it nearly as much as I used to, but it's the best song so far. I kind of got sick of it towards the end, but it's still the best song on the album so far. This one doesn't sound especially like Nickelback either. Like they don't sound very Nickelback on this album at all in general. I do like this chorus a lot. Part of me wants to give it a 7, to be honest. I think 6 is the way to go. The Hammer's Coming Down, where they tried to sound cinematic, and it pretty much just falls flat. It's verging on mediocre, but it's like a little below that. I've struggled with the score for a few on this album. I'm very, very confident in the score. Next one is Miss You, which I remember being incredibly grating and annoying, with some whistles. It's trying to get to be like the end credit song for like Shrek 6, you know? Not even halfway through the fucking song. It's so bad. I'm just gonna put this here right now. I'm happy with that too. I think I nailed it. Got Me Running Round, featuring Flo Rida, because what are you gonna do? Are you not gonna have Flo Rida on a song? Okay, this section sounds a bit better. The funniest thing about this is they brought in Flo Rida because it's supposed to blow the track up. Like, why else? As Nickelback, why else would you bring a rapper on for a verse, right? It's because you desperately need some more attention on this project. There's only one song on this album with fewer plays than this. Nobody gave a fuck. The worst part is that chorus isn't even that bad. This just reeks of selling out, being disingenuous. Like, it's a 4 because there are moments that don't suck. This is without a doubt the song that I have the least memory of, which means I probably never made it through the album more than a couple times. They really tried to go 60% country. That's awful. 3. No Fixed Address it's an improvement on Here and Now. It's not a good album. Only 2 albums remaining. Feed the Machine from 2017, which I actually liked quite a bit. I liked it a lot more than No Fixed Address. This is one of those albums where I wasn't really all that excited for it, just because, like I said, in 2014 when No Fixed Address came out, it was very hit or miss. I was kind of losing my interest in Nickelback. And then 2017, this album came out and gave it a listen, and I was very pleasantly surprised. I got high hopes. I don't think it's going to start with a 6, but you know, I got higher hopes for this album. I know the title track is one that I still really enjoy, so there really is no need for the song to be 5 minutes long, but it is. It is wild how much better this sounds than anything on the last 2 albums. I do really like that chorus. Wah pedal solo. It's a good riff. It's a good riff. I'm gonna be completely honest here. It's really solid. It's really solid. This starts out way better than I remember. You know what? As far as like weird, sort of middling songs on an album, it's better than the last couple. That's for sure. This is weird. This is a little weird. This is fine. Like, if someone put this on, I'd be fine with it. I'm giving it a 6. This song sounds like if you asked an AI to write a Nickelback ballad. It's pretty rough. It's pretty fucking rough. I'm trying to decide how critical I want to be. It's not a genuinely bad song. There just isn't an ounce of good in it. Alright, yeah, I'm sticking with that 4. I'm happy with that. Next up is Must Be Nice, which I think... Is this the nursery rhymes one? I pretty consistently went back and forth being like, this is the stupidest thing or this is kind of fun. I think my opinion on it had a lot to do with how much alcohol I had in my system. Pretty sure they bring up Humpty Dumpty at some point. There it is. There's something about the multi-millionaire several times over, like multi-millionaire preaching about privilege. It misses the mark for me. Wah solo. It's actually a pretty alright solo. It's a 4. It's a 4. I'm listening to my gut. It's a 4. I think I'm gonna. This is another 2-per on the wah count. This is really, really rough. Oh fuck, that's worse than I remember. It's getting boring because I keep doing the same number, but I think this is a 4 again. It's not the worst thing ever. It's not a really bad song. It's just really not good. It's a good riff. I'm surprised. This is really good so far. I don't remember this one being a standout on the album at all. Oh, it's because the chorus sucks. Yeah, that's right. That's right. A little bit of shred. Not hearing a new wah. God, if that chorus wasn't so shitty, that'd be a 6. 5. All right, Home. Now this was my favorite song on the album. So let's see if it holds up. It's still really solid. Yeah, this one holds up. This song holds up. Not, you know, it's not like the 10 out of 10 I considered it to be when it first came out. It like I listened to it so much. But no, it's still very, very solid. Yeah, it's still solid. With how really rough the last few albums have been, I'm loving this. I'm really enjoying this. Some great drumming in this one. Like, great drumming. The Betrayal, Act 3, is really solid. Oh, I just noticed I wrote Silent Majority. That's a bit of a bummer after the last two. What if we fought for what we believe in, which is whatever you believe in? I think a lot of this stems from me listening to a lot of music with a very specific and descriptive point of view. I've been listening to a lot of Spanish love songs recently. Listening to this like fucking empty, hey, we're upset, and it's about the same stuff you are, without specifying it. It feels so fucking lame. Feels like an easy 4 to me. Alright, Every Time We're Together. This is gonna be brutal. This song makes me want to say that they're trying to make another Photograph, but the next album has a much clearer attempt at Photograph 2, and it's worse than this. It's probably harsh, but I really found that painful. See, now this is like a cinematic kind of soundtrack thing I can get behind. Sounds great. I could picture this like behind like a claymation style specifically, you know, like I have like Coraline, or like it wasn't very good, but The House like pops into my head. This would be a great soundtrack for something in that kind of style. I actually really like this. I enjoyed that quite a bit. The album is ending on a high note. That's gonna get a 7. Feed the Machine ends up with a 55, which puts it in 4th place so far. All right, just one album to go. I only have to listen to one more Nickelback album today. So I know this one's gonna be bad. I listened to it when it came out, which would have been let's see, what's the release date on this bad boy? November of last year. November 2022. I already know that I don't like it at all. When I first listened to it, I generally thought it might be the worst Nickelback album. But now I have the other 9 albums and fresh in my memory to compare this to. So let's see if it actually holds up as truly awful. I remember when they posted this teaser, just playing this bit here. And before this kicked in, the drum and bass, everyone was like, holy fuck, Nickelback is heavy as shit. This song is fucking awful. For anyone who hasn't heard it yet, I'll let the chorus play here. With that, let me just slap here. Let me just slap on Nickelback's Third Zero. of their discography. This song, first of all, is dog shit. Second, it's a song about drinking and driving and then telling the cop, like, whoa, dude, I was doing it for rock and roll. Maybe Chad should be thinking twice about writing a song like this. Not a whole lot of self-awareness there. But I believe there's a wah solo, so I'm just going to skip ahead to that spot so we can throw it on the counter. And, you know, the next song is called Skinny Little Missy, which, as you'd expect, we're not improving a whole lot here. This man is nearly 50. Wah solo, by the way. I can appreciate some shreddy solos, for sure, but... no. Does that count as a twofer on the solo for the wah? I think it might. Yeah, that's an easy 2. This one is gonna score like shit, by the way, because this is a shameless attempt at Photograph 2. Because you haven't had a fucking hit in a decade. Like, it's shameless. It also has one of the worst lines I've heard in any song, period. Like, nearly 20 years later, you gotta try and recreate the magic of Photograph. It's... no. Not happening. Now here comes that awful line. Fair, but then... remember every poster we had hanging on the wall. Remember every t-shirt we stole from the local mall. In the background, Ace of Spades by Motorhead. What the fuck is that doing there? Are people nostalgic just for Ace of Spades by Motorhead? You hear someone say, hey, Ace of Spades by Motorhead, and they go, fuck, you're telling me. Great song. In this scenario, in this context, it is the dumbest fucking... let me just play it one more time. Like, it's not even like, remember when we bought fucking singles at the local store or something? That's following a line about stealing t-shirts. I think just on its own, it should be getting a 2, but because I am so fucking mad about the shameless attempt at Photograph 2, I'm giving it a 1. It is fucking horrific that this song exists. And as someone who likes Photograph, I'm genuinely like mad about it. It's terrible. Speaking of terrible, holy fuck, this next song sucks. Everything about this fucking sucks. I'm doing my best not to throw up right now. Objectively, I think this song is a 3, but I hated that intro with a guy just fucking sparking one up in his car. That deducts a point. I hated it so much. Vegas Bomb, I remember hating this for some reason. I don't remember why. It's off to a good start. Maybe I have this mixed up with something, but it's not good, but it's not as bad as I remember it being. That's got a wah for sure. I don't think it's as bad as I had in my head for some reason, but it's a bad song. That's a 3. That does not sound like Nickelback. What does that sound like? This sounds just like something else. What the fuck does it sound like? It's gonna bug me that I can't figure out what it sounds like, but if I think of it while I'm editing this together after, I'll splice it in here. Figured it out. I don't know why this song is in my head. I don't even know why I remember this song, but it's a Timbaland song, "The Way I Are." Um, this one, it's just like so. Tidal Wave sounds like a slowed down version of like the end of that main hook in the Timbaland song. Tidal Wave isn't terrible, but it's not good. That's a 4. This is bland as fuck. I'm trying to be objective here. I think with the way this album started, I'm ready to write everything off. I think I'm giving this song a 5. I feel like I want to give it a 4, but I'm giving it a 5. If I just heard this on its own, without knowing how absolutely horrific this album starts, I think I can get behind a 5. This is absolutely a 4. Unless it does something absolutely wild in the second half here, but boring as fuck. Yeah, that's a 4. I nailed it. I'm so good at this. This is bad. Like this is a 3. It's got all the boring elements of the last few songs with an added level of just like grating to listen to. That one was rough. Alright, Standing in the Dark. I wonder if any other band has such an even split 50-50 on sappy love songs and songs about fucking hookers. How is the song not over already? I'm just gonna put this 4 here. It's not the worst thing ever, but there's nothing enjoyable in it. Okay, finally, one song left. Literally just one more. Thank you. I don't think I can give it a 3. I think if I give it a 3, it's a little bit much. Get Rollin' is the worst Nickelback album by a fair bit. It's pretty fucking horrible. There's the there are the rankings right there. The 10 Nickelback albums in order from best to worst. Pretty decent spread actually. All the Right Reasons, The Long Road, Silver Side Up, all kind of fitting into that good album score. Feed the Machine is sort of halfway between mediocre and good with a 55. The State, Dark Horse, and No Fixed Address all kind of fitting into the like not all that good, but usually an album that's 40 something has maybe something going for it. And then yeah, Curb and Here and Now are just straight up not good albums, and Get Rollin' being in the 20s, we're in like that's a really bad album kind of territory. But yeah, again, thank you so much for watching, and if you liked it to the point where you've watched all the way to the end, we would really appreciate it if you subscribe. And yeah, thanks again for watching, and hopefully this wasn't quite as painful for all of you as it was for me. Thanks again.